So, welcome to the Maythorn Monthly from Spain. This is Ribera de Cabanes, which is about 2 kilometers north along the Mediterranean coast from the Marina d'Or area, the resort. And we're starting the Maythorn Monthly this month with, unusually, the archive spot. A bit confusing this month, which is why I thought I'd better explain. It's a program from 1972, but it's coming off a tape from 1974 where I was running a 2-year anniversary for the program and looking back on it. That's just where I found this particular interview. The interview is with Roxy Music, who were appearing at the Red Pig Jazz Club in Teesside. The program was broadcast on Radio Merseyside but recorded at BBC Radio Teesside in Middlesbrough, so even more confusing. The reason for that was that I wanted to stay in Teesside that weekend because the Emperor Roscoe, one of the early pirate DJs who ended up on Radio 1, was presenting Radio 1 Club in Hartlepool. Anyway, that's probably all immaterial. The main thing is, if you like Roxy Music and you're interested in synthesizers and Brian Eno's work, then this is for you.
On 95.8 VHF and Rediffusion Channel C, this is Radio Merseyside.
It's morning.
It's Smart Circus.
And a very good morning to you and welcome to Smart Circus.
Radio Merseyside on VHF. Blind Smart.
Oh no!
Who is the greatest DJ in this here land? Oh yeah. Who's got a voice that's sweet, golden tonsils and a disco too, just for you, you can't deny. Brian Smart goes to your heart, so listen all the time.
Isn't that awful?
Recorded at Radio Teesside, that programme actually, for Easter Saturday, because I was up in Hartlepool watching the Roscoe show going out live, and Roscoe was there going...
hello there.
He was, just like that. Good on top of the pops, eh?
Much more music. Brian Smart.
Get off! And Radio Teesside have got 2 jingle machines, whereas we've only got 1 here, as you can probably tell, the way I was punching them up like that. Second anniversary of Smart Circus this morning. Roxy Music fans, stay tuned. We're going back to the days when Eno was with Roxy. I like that harmonica. I like it, I like it. 24th of June 1972 on Smart Circus. And now an interview with Roxy Music. Eno, you play tapes and the synthesizer. What kind is it?
It's a VCS3. It's made by a firm called EMS in London.
Bearing in mind our listeners can't see what you're doing, would you like to just give a quick run through on what this will do?
Yeah, I'll give you say 4 different types of sound. This is using the keyboard now.
Yeah, can I just mention this patchboard? It's lettered A to P and numbered 1 to 16. So how do you know what's what on it?
It takes about 3 or 4 months to get completely familiar with the patchboard because there are, I think it's 260 possible different connections, and there, on top of that, there must be about 18,000 possible different types of circuit that you can make up.
Are the synthesizers being used commercially in things like Chicory Tips records? What do you say to that? Is that easy?
It's very difficult to do live. It's easy to do in a studio where you know you only have to do it once and you can get the tuning dead perfect and spend a few hours doing it if necessary. But to do something that has to be reliable like that live is quite difficult.
Finally, can I ask you about your use of tape? You're putting cassettes through the system here.
Yeah, originally I used to use large tape recorders, but I found cassettes were easier because you can cue them exactly to a piece and start and stop them very easily. And it means you can also change the order of the program material easily without having to resplice all the tapes. Well, some of these cassettes have taken about 2 or 3 days in terms of, solid working. Like 50, 60 hours solid working.
How could I hear their story? They told me not right.
Brian Ferry of Roxy Music. Can I ask you first about the title of the group?
Roxy Music. Well, we wanted to find a name that had a sort of period feel to it, and we sort of wrote down a long list of names of cinemas, things like Roxy, Ritz, Odeon, things like that. And Roxy had obvious sort of rock connotations, so we sort of kept that one. I can't read music all right, you see, so I just sort of play it.
I can hear people saying another group with a synthesizer.
Well, it's better than most synthesizer players.
Oh, thank you, Brian, and good luck to Roxy Music.
What's her name? Virginia play?
Starting our tour of our three favourite countries in Europe this month in Tarragona in Spain, we arrived there at night and found there was a whole new lit walkway that brings you up from the beach area into the town, which is elevated above the beach level. We found a bar, had a drink, and then went off to our hotel for a sleep. The next day we explored the centre of Tarragona, which is a beautiful place right on the coast. I have to say that we prefer the controlled water from these fountains in the centre of Tarragona from the wild Mediterranean that was washing the shores of Marina d'Or last month. We headed into the Roman part of Tarragona. Tarragona is a city in the south of Catalonia, and its history stretches back thousands of years, and the area has been declared a World Heritage Site. Definitely worth a walk through this welcoming Mediterranean city. It's a way of discovering the past. Tarragona has been explained away as a big open-air museum with lots of cultural treasures. In fact, it goes back to 218 BC when the ancient city of Tarraco was founded, and the Golden Age began in the year 26 BC when the Emperor Augustus moved there. Well, hundreds of years after this period of splendour, you can still feel the importance of Tarraco as it was to Roman Spain. Just take a quiet walk around, walk along the coast, take in the rich heritage, feel the Roman past, and you can see it right throughout this old city centre. Okay, who's going to be the first to say this is a place where you can get ahead? The tourist guides suggest that you walk around the old city, but actually you can't drive in there without a permit, so walking is the thing to do. And also don't forget to go and look in the National Archaeological Museum if you're into history. So that's the Roman part of Tarragona. Next time we'll go down to the nautical part. I'm talking about the marina and the port. Don't forget to join us then. Yeah, I'm at home in the UK at this very minute in time. I can't guarantee I'll stay here. I'm heading for the hall cupboard. Find out why later on. Down at Marina d'Or, if you go down on the beach as the sun is rising over the sea, you'll see diggers and other workers out and about harvesting the seaweed. There's always a lot of seaweed coming up on the beach, and they don't leave it there. It has a mighty good purpose. Apparently you can use seaweed in the making of various chemical treatments, of medicines, and even in the manufacture of paper. So these piles of seaweed don't stay here for long, except perhaps after the storms that we had in January, where they had more things on their mind than just the seaweed. So this is Varna on the Black Sea coast, and I'm on the hidden beach. It's hidden because it's so difficult to get to. You have to come down a steep cliff edge from where the hotels are to find this beach. Now, it's absolutely deserted today, but I'm not sure if that's because it's winter or because not many people find their way down here. But it's certainly worth it. If you want a peaceful meditation spot, this would be it. So we've done Spain, we've done Bulgaria. Let's come back and look across the water from Birkenhead to Liverpool. That's the Anglican Cathedral, and it's one of the best views you'll get of it, because if you go into Liverpool now and try and see the cathedral, it's hidden by a lot of housing. A few years ago this wasn't true, but all this housing has sprung up in the last, say, 10 years. The cathedral is on the edge of the Baltic Triangle, and we're due to get more housing there, as Liverpool is an investment hotspot. It's one of the best in the country at the moment, and the Baltic Triangle is being developed with lots of new flats and shops and general leisure areas of the kind that you've seen elsewhere in the country. Back here in Swistov on a Sunday now, the Sunday market, and one of the things we like about Bulgaria is the quality of the food here, all the fresh meat and the wonderful recipes and stews that they make, and the fresh produce that's available just about everywhere. Definitely worth coming to one of these markets and picking up some of the local produce. It really is tasty. Finally, we're going back to Spain to the Benicassim festivals that we had to postpone from last month. We're taking Shankshi's pony down to Benicassim, and then we're just going to walk through the streets and take in all the sights and smells. I'm sorry you can't actually smell what's going on here, but believe me, it was wonderful. Don't you hate people who do that to you? This is a 10-day fiesta in Benicassim that takes place every January, and we had no idea about it up to now. I think this will be going in our diaries again for next year. It's lovely here. got another house in Oresh, Bulgaria that is on the market at the moment, and it's a very small house, probably regarded as a one bedroom, one living room, one kitchen diner. No bathroom at the moment. It seems to have a large plot of land, but until you see the title deed you don't actually know if it all belongs to the house. So a quick look round. It's what they class as a bungalow, but bungalows look a lot taller in Bulgaria because everywhere you look there are basements. It's a neat little house, and it's, as usual, very well located. It's got the views out across the village that you come to expect, and if you look down here there's a little area that could become a driveway out to the road. We've already lined up a buyer for this, and I'll tell you more about that next month. So right now we go back to Wales, where my Trythyn house is under the microscope, and see how we've been progressing there in the last 12 months. By last April we put down a new floor and joists and put up a stud wall, and that was the bathroom, and this was the bath. The bathroom suite was delivered, and we worked out where it was all going to go, and then did the plumbing to feed to that. Our first delivery of plasterboard was enough to do part of the wall and the ceiling in the bathroom, and we also got some timber and put up some battens on the wall. It'll become obvious what this is for later. The plumbing was extended across the bathroom and down through a hole in the floor, ready to do the kitchen later. Bath in place, we then tiled the floor, and that later got grouted, and as you can see we don't tile under the bath. For speed we decided to use a PVC wall cladding which is available from B&Q. Our handyman Bob is showing how this is assembled. Basically you cut the right length strips to fit the wall height, and then you try it for size against the existing panel. Putting the first one in place of course is important, but after that you just follow on, and this has got quite a tight pattern on it. So you get it lined up, you put some glue on the battens, and then you push it into place, push it home onto the glue, and then put a couple of small nails in the end to hold it in position. So we're working around the bathroom left to right, putting in sections of ceiling and of wall cladding. Brought a wire through for the shower. We bought a flat pack bathroom cabinet, which, as you can see from the finished product, goes on the wall. The shower's mounted, and all the wall cladding we're going to put in is now put in. The ceiling is completely boarded, the downlighters are in with their wiring, and we now receive another delivery of plasterboard and of plaster. And that brings us to the latest position we're in, where the wall that wasn't panelled has now been skimmed, and so has the boarding on the ceiling. And next time I'll show you what we did with the stairwell and the landing. Time now for the hub of the month in our home automation series. And when I was in Spain last month, I said that although I was using a coffee table there for the tech, I said the whole cupboard was just as good a place. And here in our home in the UK, I do use a whole cupboard. Yeah. This is full of stuff that you just wouldn't want to see, but I'm sure a nosy little camera will probably give you a quick look. Things like an aerial amplifier to send the TV signal around to the whole house. Cat5 wiring so that you can have computers and phones in any room you want and just plug them in. Various automation boxes, routers and other stuff. They all go in there along with the telephone system. And I'm going to show you a hub that's made in Britain this time. The thing about anything made in Britain is it's not cheap. Now, these hubs I've been showing you up to now, they can be anything from £49 to £99, and they all do pretty much the same job.
The Smart's home. Mr. and Mrs. Smart rise at the same time every day.
This is made by a firm in Birmingham, Lightwave RF. It's another little home hub, but it doesn't conform to any of the standards that we mentioned so far. It isn't Zigbee, it isn't Z-Wave, it isn't DEC-T or any of those. In fact, grew out of the original 433 megahertz stuff that we used to have, where you had a little white hand controller that operated sockets and there was no intelligence to it.
Oh, I do love waking up when it's light, says Mrs. Smart. Yes, I quite agree, says Mr. Smart.
And it's 130 quid, that.
Come on, Watson. It's time for some lovely buttery crumpets.
Everybody makes these kind of things. You can put these in place of your standard light switch in the wall socket. Just put the wires in the back and then remote control them.
It's evening, and Mr. Smart is feeling romantic.
What you don't see very often, because this is a worldwide system, and with Z-Wave right across Europe the same products will work, but they have the different sockets to us. We have 13 amp sockets, nobody else does. And Lightwave RF, they're from Birmingham, they make 13 amp sockets that you can remote control from their app. That's the only reason I can think of now to have a Lightwave RF, because it's more expensive and it doesn't use one of the worldwide standards for communication.
Mr. Smart has popped on the nightlight.
Just a quick bit about video this month. I'm going to introduce you to a cinematic concept called A-roll and B-roll. When people make a movie, they shoot all the main action on the A-roll, and then there's another camera or set of cameras called the B-roll, which is the film that they took at some of the time, generally without any sound on it. They just went wandering around the place where they were shooting the main footage and got lots of extra shots, long shots, things like that. Those are the ones that get cut in over the top, and they help to develop the interest, to show you the scene better and so on. Now, I do a bit of that. I told you that I got this little camera. Back in 2016 I got what I thought was a little camera. It's a gimbal camera, it's on a stick, it's controllable from controls that you can't actually see, but they're around the back here. And the same with this one. I've got that facing you, but it normally would face me. So I now have my A-roll. This is a camera where you can plug in external microphones and you can put it on tripods and generally do what you want with it, and that becomes my A-roll, which I do all the main features in. But there's lots of other footage that you see that I don't bother setting all this up for. That's where this comes in. It goes in my pocket and I can just bring it out and it's ready to go in seconds, and both these cameras shoot 4K UHD. So these are my team. That was in 2016 when I first discovered this one. This is my 2020 device, which has actually been out for over a year, and I've had my eye on it, and I've even spoken to people who've had them. So these are my team at the moment that I go out and shoot my video with. But at the moment I'm darting about from one country to another so much that I haven't had time to set up a proper studio. Maybe next year. And finally, flashing back to the Maythorn Monthly of 2 years ago this month, I was at the castle at Castell-de-Fels with beautiful views over to the sea. It's quite high up there. We were at Marina d'Or, where the American car was still in evidence, but it's gone now, so that was your last chance to see it. And I looked at a house in Denbigh, which my stepdaughter had bought to get herself on the property ladder, only she didn't stay there very long. She put some triple glazing in, sold the house and moved to Australia. End of story. Oh yes, and there's me again, and I just bought that car. It was cheap. The electrics don't work, no electric windows, no central locking, but it's an estate car, that's what I want. I'm shifting stuff around all the time.